Welcome to the Special Moves podcast. My name is Mike Williams. These guys are Jake Kulkowski and Liam McKelvey. This is episode 121. How's it going, guys? You right?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, doing good. Look at this. Don't go into the light. I'm in a very, very sunny attic, aren't I? For 6 p.m.
It's very bright, actually. Yeah. It's. I think are the days still getting longer? Yeah, obviously. Yeah, it's only fucking April, isn't it? So they'll keep getting longer till like June or July. In it. I think when you're a bit of a nerd, like us, and
that's right.
You're trying to watch a bit of TV. You're trying to. If you try and play Resident Evil Village in a brightly lit room
with HDR on,
you're having a bad time with that.
I don't know what my worst nightmare was. The song on the telly, with the horrors before me. But,
Mother Miranda. Yeah.
When you've configured your TV with the beautiful guidance of Vincent from HD TV Test, it's like you need perfect darkness.
Not even Vincent can pull you out of the problem. So Resident Evil 8 and its stupid demo limitations have been bypassed by all three of us, right? We've all managed to jump through all of the necessary chronology-based hoops that have stopped a lot of other people playing it.
So this is the demo for the upcoming Resident Evil. Is it Resident Evil 8?
It's Resident Evil Village, but the VILL is like Roman numerals for 8. Which they make a little song and dance about in the trailers. Yeah. So even though it's not in the title, it is in it. It is 8. Because why are you doing that, like faffing about with the Roman numerals shit?
Yeah. Okay. So that's the demo for that, which was it's such a weird situation. I think. Well, I've already seen quite a few kind of angry opinion pieces and all that kind of thing. I mean, like Eurogamer and stuff did one. Yeah. Saying it doesn't respect your time and all that, but Eurogame weren't the only ones to say that.
Yeah,
they've definitely got a point because it was a 30-minute demo, as in you were time limited. You could only play it for 30 minutes, and it was only available.
But this is confusing. You can only play it for 30 minutes, as in the time on the program is 30 minutes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The time that you spend playing it is 30 minutes, right? Yeah. I just want to draw that out there because there's another thing where the time you can play is different. So sorry, go on, Mike.
And then there's an 8-hour window where you could play those 30 minutes, which is so it's a really convoluted. So that isn't even that's just the first phase of the demo experience, right? So there's more. Like there's another demo which is following very similar rules and the same. It's going live at 6 p.m. or whatever, and then it's available until 2 a.m. And then, correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, but that is only the PlayStation exclusive demo?
Yeah.
Or is that? Because then there is a further demo, which is, again, time limited and all that shit, to 60 minutes, which is available on all platforms. And that's going to be in a
So, Liam, am I right in saying this? Part A is 30 minutes and Part B is 30 minutes, right?
Yep.
Part C in this case is A and B put together, yeah?
Yeah.
So A was out this week. B is PlayStation exclusive for that week. So if you don't have a PlayStation, you can't play. Yeah. But then C, which is A and B put together, is available for everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's both parts, but with the same weird...
A is the green herb. Part B is the red herb. Part C is the first aid spray. I don't know.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's so it's a weird situation. But I kind of get possibly why they were trying to do it, because how would you create an event when you can't have events? Well, you just kind of try and gather people together in it's trying to force a Twitter trend or something almost, isn't it? Or trying to force like some kind of Reddit surge or something like that by having everyone playing the game at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it worked really, but
yeah, very interesting that they were doing that, trying to control that, because you're right. If they gave out that 30-minute demo, until launch, it would be unusual, wouldn't it? So yeah, they've tried to control the way that the news is put out by getting UK, press and content creators to play between the hours of 6 and 2. Like, you joking?
On a
Sunday night, fresh from church. You fucking have a laugh. So I managed to catch it about 8 o'clock. I started it. Yeah, it'd gone full dark by then, I'm pretty sure, and I got to play it. And I'll tell you straight away though, I did have a nice time on it. What did you guys think?
It's fucking good, isn't it?
It's
a really good time.
I did like it, but I did feel a bit under pressure to get through it because of that 30
proper
minute
clock
time.
watching.
I was, yeah. I was like, I never stopped too long. I was like, right, I'm just going to look at this quickly and I'm going to run to the next building. I'm going to go through here, see if there's any items. Then I'm going to run to this next bit. Oh, there's a cutscene. Better watch it as quick as I can and then sprint to the next bit. So, I did like what was there, but felt a bit under pressure about the whole thing.
I've thought a lot about this, and I think, I hate that. I really like to play games slowly. I really like to take my time playing games.
Yeah.
I like to, learn it as I'm playing it as well. I'm not a big kind of guide user unless I'm like actually stuck or whatever. So I like to just figure things out as they hit you. But I did feel like I kind of played that so quickly, and I was literally by the end. I was like, shit, I need to see the end. So I was just fucking running from towards the ending. It turned out, and sprinting, and I made it by kind of seconds. I made it probably like 20 seconds left or something. But because I played it like that, I don't really feel like it's been spoilt too much. At least like the atmosphere of that village and stuff, because I just fucking blazed through it. I went into one of the houses or something, but I did, I don't. So it is quite an interesting way of making sure that you don't ruin the game too much for yourself while still getting excited about it.
I mean, I'm the type of person who, especially in Resident Evil games, loves to pick up everything, read every single note, listen to every single audio log you can pick up. But I didn't get to do that this time.
No.
To the point where I think there was stuff I even missed. Like, I didn't realise there was a crafting system until I'd already started reading people's impressions online. I know there was going to be crafting in the full game. I didn't know they let you do it in the demo though.
Yeah. Oh.
No shit, I didn't know. Yeah, because you can craft the first aid and
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't realise that until I started watching people's impressions online. I thought it was just locked out of a demo, but it was there.
Yeah. I came in from the perspective of somebody who actually didn't complete the similar timed demo that they did for Resident Evil 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually didn't complete the loop in the police station because I was soaking in the atmosphere, and the graphics are just mind blowing, right? I mean, we're kind of getting a bit spoilt by the RE engine at the moment, especially if you've had the Switch and you've been playing Monster Hunter Rise, which is just like how they've done that is crazy. But anyway, Resident Evil 8 is gorgeous looking, but because it's like first person, I got a clear scope on where I'm going. I did it with 6 minutes to spare, and then I redid it, but then meandered around too much. And I went into it again, not knowing I was gonna finish it. Or I was just happy to wander around the fields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere was cool. You know what? Like the cornfield bit was really good because you don't actually see that much. Like it's such a stupid horror trope, done to death horror trope, especially in films, right? But in games, like how's that been done successfully? Slender did it not very well. Outlast did it a little bit in the second one.
Yeah.
But not to great effect. So they did that was really I've seen it a million times. Anyone who watches horror films has seen it a million times. So it shouldn't feel fresh, but it did, which is stupid. And I don't want to sound like one of them, it's so not original, it's original. But it was really good how they did it. I felt like Dread.
No, no, you're totally spot on. Because it's the sounds and everything, and the build up to it is pretty, not relaxed. It's just kind of that foreboding, and it's that idea that they got from I think it was in Resident Evil 7, where, well, I suppose it's in Resident Evil 1 really, where your initial thing isn't you're not going zombies straight away. You're kind of like, here's a house, wow, that's pretty creepy, isn't it? And you have the same kind of slow build of tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so when you get that field and you see the kind of the corn field, just kind of you see some rustling and stuff, and it's good. That's a good section. It is a really good demo in it's just how that it's been delivered is what is, if that was just out there now and you can just jump back into it and enjoy it as much as you want, I don't think there would be any kind of conversation around it, because it's a great fucking slice of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But because there's for example, so many cutscenes in it, but you just give me fucking 30 minutes to play the whole thing. There's like fucking 20 minutes of cutscenes in it. So
you know what? I've got to say, I'm really glad that they gave you the option to skip the cutscenes, because they did this thing where they integrated the cutscenes in, so to the point where it's almost indistinguishable from the gameplay, which Resident Evil 7 did. But Resident Evil 7 you can't skip. So it was like, I redid Resident Evil 7. Maybe I'll talk about that in a bit. Mike has been doing it as well, right? So a lot of that, I kind of, I don't need to have the boring long jump scare of Marguerite by a door. So I'm just like, skip. I can't. But with this, you fully can. So it's interesting because Resident Evil, and Liam is the living testament of this, right? Is that Resident Evil is made to be replayed. It's made to be, test you. So having that shackle on Resident Evil 7 of not being able to skip the dull dinner table scene, which is not dull, but it is after 7 times,
It's I don't think that it's a classic thing of the first time you see it, and perhaps even the first time I went back to it. That we like you said, Jake, we've just gone back to it recently. Just going back to it, you're like, "Fuck, this is good." But then after kind of a couple of minutes, you're like, "All right, can we just can we get on with it now?"
Exactly.
I think you mentioned Marguerite there, right, from Resident Evil 7. I think that just that Marguerite character is just comparing her to what you get in Resident Evil 8 is it's a huge leap in visual quality.
Great. So can we? Should we talk about it spoilery a bit? Because I just want to kind of talk about something in there, but I don't know. Are we got to do that? Do you reckon? We got timestamps in our podcasts.
Yeah.
So,
okay. And I think this is very, very early into Resident Evil 8. It's not nothing, mate. This is this demo is basically the setup for the rest of the game, pretty much.
Yeah. So to my understanding, the story of Resident Evil 8 is that the protagonist arrives at a village. Yeah. That's the start of the demo.
Yeah.
But what I want to just say is that dead early on, it introduces non-hostile NPCs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who are inhabitants of the village. A village that's got a beastie plague running through it, which, I don't want to say the B word, but it is a bit. Yeah. And I've got to say that that was quite a welcome change to Resident Evil 7, which is obviously on purpose and by design claustrophobic. But the only NPCs that you really encounter there is the cop who gets spaded in the head, well early on. And then in a little flashback towards the end of the game, you when you play as a different character, you see another squad mate of yours. So it's it was really cool that I felt like it was a bit more of a living breed. That's the thing that was going to be the big thing. I'm in a village, apart from I'm the only NPC in there. I thought that's what it was going to be, apart from the tall vampire lady and the beasts. But no one, there was a bunch of ooh. I thought that was
yeah. It's cool.
Ace,
There's cool story beats in the beginning of it, and it's super, super reminiscent of Unavoidable, super reminiscent of Bloodborne. When you're knocking on the doors in Bloodborne, and there's just a few people. It's a very obviously the Gothic setting is similar, but just the idea that there are other NPCs there, but they're scared and they're hiding and they're locked themselves away. And the way that the demo for Resident Evil brings you into that, and really puts it in your face.
Yeah. Do you know what is cool? That it asks some dead simple questions right at the beginning, through the NPCs, why has Mother Miranda not been protecting us? She always protects us. What's happened? There's so many questions, right? So it's that is dead straightforward, isn't it? Everyone knows that there's somebody called Mother Miranda. She's supposed to be protecting you, and the village, and she's not anymore. Why? And why are these monsters here? It's like Ace, because it's not complicated. It doesn't have to be dead Silent Hill about things. It's not going it doesn't keep mentioning something that the character knows that you don't know, which is a thing that loads of horrors that what? Ethan, don't you remember? Don't you remember? You know, it's not doing that bullshit. It's literally like, you want to know who's Mother Miranda? How did she used to protect the people? Using what means? Sacrifice? Who knows? And like, okay, so how come when she stopped doing whatever she's doing, everyone's turning into a beast in that? Like, they're dead simple questions that I want to know the answer to, and I will find out by playing the game. Price that, full fat price. Would I pre-order it? Well, no, but, you know, it's Ace. It's Ace as a bit of marketing. It's Ace as a bit of storytelling. It's Ace as a game setup. It's really Ace. Like, they smashed it.
Yeah, it's good, and the fact that it's it's actually the second demo. Obviously, you know, there has been another demo before this, which was set in the castle, wasn't it, or in the actual interior of the castle.
It was a prequel to Resident Evil 8 in a way. It was meant as just like a visual showcase, but had story hooks in it that are going to be answered, in the full game.
And it was a bit more. I think that I kind of enjoyed that, but it didn't really spark my kind of excitement. Whereas this demo definitely did. I can see why they put that one first, and then they've had this one has really kind of got me interested in getting this game. And I don't know if I'll pre-order it, but
what an amazing contrast between the first demo and the second demo though.
Yeah,
one's claustrophobic, literal water drips on cold stone. Basement, and then you go to this lavish, amazing looking mansion, which by itself is a thing, and then you go this one, which is like cornfields and a more built up area, which in a way between the two of them they kind of represent the entire series. What I did best, up close and personal, residencies, and then you've got these big stupid actiony bits, but it's cool that they managed to do so much with so little. Resident Evil's always incredible in how it handles its certainly with 7 anyway, how it showed off the demos and it became a bit of a thing. PT, I think, is really what set this in motion as a subject, right?
For sure.
That's and how they did the Resident Evil 7 with what I remember was the prequel to the game with the VHS tape.
Beginning hour.
And then they actually sneakily patched stuff in, didn't they? Into the existing demo. They were adding the gun and they added little bits of mystery. So that's cool. So with this, they've taken a different but I can't help. It sounds like, to people who are just not really invested, it sounds like fanboying. But I just really think in terms of what you're getting from a horror game, this is so much polish and just so interesting and exciting. When was the last AAA horror game?
Well, I'd even say just a single player, just a really straightforward single player game. Which is how long is it going to be, really? Let's just say 12 hours for just completely fucking. It's not going to be like a 20-25 hour live semi-live game like Outriders or whatever. And it's not, you can probably beat it in 6 or 7 hours, and then it becomes like a speed running thing. But it's just a cinematic single player, storytelling, survival horror. Feels like a while since I've had that, really.
They did also announce the return of Mercenaries finally, after not being in 7 or Remake 2 or Remake 3. It's finally back.
What is Mercenaries?
So Mercenaries it's like a bonus game mode that they started including with Resident Evil 3, the original one, back on the PS1. And it's like a time attack based, very arcadey game mode where it puts you in a challenge level. You usually pick a character who has set equipment, and you just have to. It's usually beat a set of parameters, survive a certain amount of time, get as many points as you can, defeat a certain amount of enemies within a time limit. But it sounds really basic on paper, but it is surprisingly super addictive when you play it.
Yeah. I played it on was it Resi 4, and it almost gives me the I guess the way I'm saying it's really reductive because the word I'm looking for is arcadey, but it did remind me a bit of Time Crisis. Do you know what I mean? Little silly little things like that, and it was cool. And it's, do you know what's funny as well? I saw it and I thought Liam's going to be well happy with this.
Oh, I was.
You know what I mean?
I was definitely happy when they announced that, and then everyone's already, especially now after they announced the Mercenaries. Everyone's already forgotten about Reverse, which actually had an open beta, about 2 weeks ago. Literally no one is talking about it. I managed to I forgot it was even a thing. I played it for 2 matches. It was only live for 2 days, but for 1.5 days, the servers were down. So you couldn't actually play this thing, but it's really nothing to write home about. It's just it's a very simple deathmatch, but it's included for free with Village. So I doubt anyone's going to play it for more than an hour, though. Even
the way that they announce it is kind of like it's a sideshow. They're like, and it's a celebration of 25 years. It's a celebration. Here's our playable celebration. You know, we've added all these like iconic characters from the series. You know, it's like right there with the Netflix spin-off and shit. You know, so as a game, which a Resident Evil game is normally like the main attraction. Yeah, it seemed odd. And then like Resident Evil 4 VR, they showed off the same event, and that seems more promising than RE. As a VR game, that looks amazing. That looks properly good, you know. But
well, I'm interested. It's nice to see them doing anything with Resident Evil 4. Really, I mean, you know, as soon as they made Resident Evil 2, I sort of thought, oh, this is great because they're going to keep it going all the way through to Resident Evil 4. And I would probably still say Resident Evil 4 is my favourite, but probably only because that was the first one really that I played and thought, this is fucking amazing. Played it through a couple of times and all that sort of thing. And
well, it's going to happen, and it's leaked, like, so.
Oh yeah, exactly. So.
With all the RE4 elements in Village and making a VR version of 4, it's definitely like trying to get it back into the public mind share.
Yeah, which I'm totally fucking here for that. You know, if they do Resident Evil Village this year and then they do an RE4 remake next year, I couldn't be happy. I couldn't be happy with that. Really,
they should do a Code Veronica remake as well, though. To be fair, because they're
running out of games to remake, so
that one is of all the old school Resident Evil games, that one is most in need of a remake, I think, because there's a lot of weird shite in that game that stops it from reaching greatness, which could very easily be fixed in a remake. But yeah, I do want to see that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But you know, it's Capcom. Nobody knows what they're up to.
Which was the one that was like, you know, kind of not top down, but it was like isometric or something. It was like not isometric. It's like Outbreak, Resident Evil Outbreak.
Yeah, Outbreak, and you played as different characters and stuff.
The co-op one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, people have been like crying for an Outbreak remake for years.
Yeah.
That one.
Resident Evil's good like that, and it's got like even its spin-offs have got like a cult fan bases. You know,
it would work even better today with like Xbox Live and PSN. You know, you don't have to like connect your PS2 to a modem to play with other people. Anymore.
Right.
It seems like such a certain idea. I don't know why they don't do it.
Yeah, they got so many good potential ideas, haven't they, in the tank? Like they could do any Resident Evil and people would eat it up. You know what I mean? Like Dino Crisis and stuff.
Oh,
there's plenty of things that Capcom is sitting on, a lot of IP that people would want to see again. But I love that they're kind of hammering out the fan favorites first. So Resident Evil, I was just looking then, by the way, at like the AAA games in horror that have come out, and like there is none. Resident Evil 3 is the last one. Like they did The Last of Us 2, if that counts. Demon Souls, if that counts. So it's like, they're really kind of like the kings of what they're doing at the moment, and I can't wait to see them do something new. That's definitely my most anticipated game of the year, Resi 8.
Same here.
Yeah. I probably would have said at the start of the year, I can't remember what I did say, but I'm sure I would have said Mass Effect. I would have said Mass Effect, but now that I've seen the Mass Effect stuff, I'm still definitely going to play Mass Effect. I'm still super excited. I'm still glad it's happening.
Yeah.
But after that Resident Evil Village demo, that was good, and I really want to play it. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if you want to play the Resident Evil Village demo, I'm not even going to begin to try and explain to you what you have to do. Just Google it, because it's just
Well, you can't play the one we played. And no one else could unless you owned a PlayStation. You could do it on PS5, PS4. Xbox and PC users were shit out of luck. And now you can't play the Resident Evil demo until this next Sunday. But it's a different demo set in the castle, not the village part. And then that again is exclusive to PlayStation until I think it's the 2nd of May when the demo comes out on all platforms. You get an hour, and you can split that hour between the village section and the castle section.
Easy, right?
Exactly, and that's why.
You only have an 8-hour window to play that 30 or 60 minutes.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, no, I wanted to say that I'm proud to say that in partnership with Capcom, you have got approximately 7.5 hours left in the window to listen to this podcast before episode 121 is deleted. And then we will re-upload it again in 2 weeks. Thanks to Capcom.
Yeah. Look out for Special Moves Episode 1 remake, which we already did. So if you want the exact times and stuff, there's loads of websites that have tried to explain it. It's pretty convoluted, but it's to be honest, it's fucking worth it. So have a look. It's a lot. Even if I would say there's people I know who never played Resident Evil, and I would say, honest to God, like check that demo, check that Resident Evil Village demo out when the 60-minute one is available to everyone. Really have a look at it because it's pretty good.
The beautiful thing is when you get to look at it, is it's less than a week till the game comes out.
Yeah.
So that's you can't ask for fairer than that, can you? You're getting a fucking demo a week to make this decision. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was Resident Evil. I think we'll do a quick email before we talk about anything else. Remember, we do have an email inbox if you're listening, if you're watching, and you want to contribute and join in the podcast discussion. Then send an email to dearspecialmoves@gmail.com. That's dearspecialmoves@gmail.com. Send us an email, anything you want, questions, conversation points, opinions that you've got. If you disagree with us about anything, if you thought Resident Evil demo was a pile of crap, let us know if you want, I guess. But this email is from Chris in Indiana, who says this. Hey gamers, I saw an interesting Reddit thread today asking what games, if any, that you regret playing. Has a game ever been so bad that you were upset that you wasted your time on it? I think for me, it would be Godus. That was Peter Molyneux's final victory over my wallet. That's a good expression. I love God games and strategy games, and it seemed like it would be a sure thing. But it just got weirder and weirder until Molyneux left society and Godus became a strange kind of mobile game. Really curious for your response, especially Liam's. Stay safe and have a nice day.
Yeah. Liam's got a fucking body count.
Too many to count.
Third. Yeah.
No, I actually enjoyed the Devil's Third because it's...
No, that's what I mean. That's what I was going to say. If the Devil's Third is there, what's there? Yeah.
Devil's Third is so stupid, it was actually enjoyable.
Okay, worst game. Well, first, can I just say, I'll tell you something
specifically that you regret having ever played it.
I just want to mention dead quickly that for anybody who doubts the God King Peter Molyneux, just look at what Godus actually looks like now. He was well ahead of his time because that like low poly, like beautiful looking flat color shit is so in vogue right now. It's what everyone's aiming for in the indie world, and he did it. Then it's such a good look, mate. It looks like that game Islands. That was that. Remember that dead nice chill game that was like 90p, mate. Godus. It looks so good on paper, like most Peter Molyneux, pictures. But then when you actually play the game, it was something else. I don't know. Well, I don't want to. I'm just going to say that. I tell you what, I really didn't like Anthem when I played it. It was pissing me off. Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. Like it sounds ungrateful, but what I played of Outriders, I just downloaded it, and I'm like, it's pissing me off. This is It's just like so much stuff. Those games annoy me, and the reason that they annoy me is because it's like how much money they want for those games.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Outriders. The time that I played the demo, it wasn't announced that it was on Game Pass, so I was like, they're asking people to pay full whack for this. It's actually that's what annoys me on that side of it. Like I'm like, they've got some fucking cheek, I'll try and think if I've actually played something all the way through though, and afterwards I've gone, why,
Well, I kind of get this all the time. I just come off stuff really quickly. I just give things a few hours sometimes, and if it doesn't immediately grab me, then I just never, I never look at it again. And I do often think I'm fucking pissed off that I even bothered downloading that, but I can't actually think of anything specifically that stands out as being the worst. Like Anthem, I don't know. I just what I get a lot is just kind of that kind of I kind of get that like I don't know wet blanket kind of feeling of
this is what
mild disappointment, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm going Liam, you're going through your entire graveyard.
I was going through my recently played games on PlayStation, just seeing like, is there any in there that I was like, why did I do this? I haven't come across anything yet.
Yeah, it's quite a big thing, isn't it, to regret having ever done it. I've definitely regretted watching stuff and like TV shows and shit. Like one of my biggest regrets is watching Lost. I just wish I hadn't.
I thought you were going to say Game of Thrones, and I was like, let's take this to the fucking bonus part.
I'm not crazy. Like the season 1 of Lost, really, really, and obviously, don't even need to explain myself. I regret watching Lost.
I have just thought of one recently. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was like, not because it's a bad game or anything, but after about the 30-hour mark, I just wasn't having any fun. But I kept going until the end.
You'd almost finished the tutorial at that point, right? I'm sure.
Yeah. So I thought I might as well see the rest of the game through. So I just like I wasn't enjoying it, but I just kept playing it. It might have been because I played it during like the first national lockdown or whatever. So it was literally just stuck inside anyway, not being able to do anything apart from sit at home. But I remember I finished. It got to a point where I was just like, it was like 2:00 in the morning. I finished the main storyline of, like Cassandra and Alexios, whatever his name was. And then I was like, as soon as like the credits don't even roll in it. As soon as I finished it, I was like, right, I uninstalled it. But then 2 days later, I reinstalled it and did one of the other storylines. I think it was the Atlantis storyline or something, because there's 3 main stories you can do in it, each of them tracked separately. And then when I got to the end of that, I was just like, why did I do that? That was another, 15 hours of my life gone. So there was, the first, 10 or so hours of Assassin's Creed Odyssey I did actually quite like. Yeah. The next 50 hours, I do look back on it I could have played, 10 indie games that are, critically acclaimed instead of this one incredibly generic time sink that I wasn't having any fun.
They're all kind of a good kind of 10 to 15 hour game that is actually 200 hours long, isn't it? So it's a massive Resident Evil, as we were just saying, is great. Part of the reason it's so fucking good is that it is only 10 to 15 hours long, So that's part of what makes it.
Yeah,
I've got one that's I think just this is a weird one, which is pretty unassuming, I think, to most people. But I tell you what annoyed me, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And why? It just didn't seem to fit any of the. There's 2. One's Mortal Shell, but let's not even get into that. The one I want to talk about though, it's actually it might be of interest, is Absolver. That really pissed me off.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it was some sort of Dark Souls fantasy when they were selling it to people, and it was just some absolute janky shit martial arts crap. That annoys me. Even thinking of it now is annoying. So that's it. Absolver can get fucked. Thanks for nothing, Devolver.
I've got 2, but I'm just going to do them quickly. So the first one is, to be quite honest, Cyberpunk 2077.
I don't think you're alone there. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, okay.
And I'm not even just talking about the jankiness. I downloaded it because I had a new gaming PC. I wanted to really push it to the limit and stuff. But having got it running at a high frame rate with everything maxed out and stuff, I just didn't look that good, and I just didn't understand why it was being used. It's I understand it's got high big performance problems, but it's a big ray tracing title, and everyone's kind of saying, it looks amazing. It's so demanding because of that, but it's just it didn't look that good. There's a difference between being technically kind of graphically demanding and being a good-looking game, I think. And I would probably say Deus Ex actually just looks better. They're just a more confident, make everything orange, but that's just the thing we're doing, and it looks better because of it. So that's one.
Yep.
I also I just don't like the world.
Well, so I've got Tales of Grace's F, which is a JRPG from the PS3. where I played it for like 10 hours and then just dropped it. Went back to it about 6 months later to, give it another chance. Ended up finishing it, and that was like 40 hours of my life I'm not getting back.
Same as Assassin's Creed. Why are you doing it?
I honestly, I'm very stubborn when it comes to finishing games. Even if I hate them, I'm like, I'm gonna finish this shit. Just
maybe it'll get good in the last 5 hours or something. Maybe it'll all come together.
It doesn't help when people say that a lot as well. Like like Days Gone recently, people are like, oh, it's a great game. You just got to get past the first 15 hours. It's like
people get so annoyed at me in the comments because I keep mentioning how much I don't like Days Gone, but. You get an impression of games, within if you give something a few hours, you should certainly know what kind of personality a game's got.
I'll tell you what personality the lead developer or whatever.
That was bad.
Speaking of personalities, he's been a right fucking prick online, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's been like such a dick. He was kind of blaming the fact that there's not a sequel on regular people, saying you should have brought the fucking game at full price.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean, like slighting people that want to maybe. And then saying saying you should buy the games you love at full price, and then like the journalist interviewed him made obviously the best point anyone can make. How do you know if you love a game before you buy it? Like at full price, it's a bit of asking a regular person to spend 60 quid on a gamble on your game is a lot, right? But so say thanks. Don't start shouting at people who buy stuff on a sale.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It didn't help that Days Gone had one of the roughest launches, especially of a Sony exclusive. Just games in general. Like, I remember I bought Days Gone at launch, and they pushed out a patch that was supposed to fix a quest-breaking bug, where it ended up like after 10 minutes, it would just hard crash your PS4, and like you flat out could not play the game unless you deleted Days Gone, reinstalled it while disconnected from the internet so it didn't download the patch, but then you got all the game-breaking bugs back in it because you didn't have the patch, but at least you could sort of play the game. But yeah, that was a whole mess.
It's I think the guy said, I remember before it came out, he did like, do you know game, I think it's Game
7,001 questions.
Yeah, so he did that, and one of the things was about, the guy asking the question said the word zombies, and he said, they're not zombies, they're freakers. How many times do I have to say they're freakers, right? Yeah. And that's just always fucking...
George A. Romero's lawyer's got a red dot on his head.
And I just, that's, so that's the lasting impression I've got of the guy.
One final game. This is another recent one where... Again, not a bad game. Crash Bandicoot 4. I bought that when it launched on PS5, like the next-gen version.
Oh, yeah?
And it's not a bad game by any means, but I just did not enjoy it past, like, the first, like, area of the game. But I kept going until the very end of the game, all the way to the final level, which is just... It was... so frustratingly cheap in its attempt to make it difficult and challenging that it wasn't fun by the end of the game. For me, anyway, I didn't think it was fun. But yeah, I kept going till the end when I could have spent like 5-8 hours playing something else that I actually enjoyed instead of filling my life with misery and pain.
That thought is so horrible, and that's my entire life. Is like, what else could I be watching?
Oh, I know. I try not to think like that.
Doing that, I can't keep myself from doing it. And the best answer to it is always for me is that I was playing Resident Evil 1 and stuff recently because I didn't want to just keep powering through Destiny or whatever. I wanted to do something that had a beginning, middle, and end, and I could tick it off. I've done that, So that is always the answer for me is. Do something that I haven't done that is considered good,
Yeah.
But the last one for me, right, is very, very recent. Played it a few days ago. Enlisted.
Oh yeah!
Enlisted.
I forgot Liam, can you remember that we did that?
Yeah. I actually liked it. I had a good time,
I didn't. I regretted that. I really did regret that.
I didn't. I had a good time. I thought it was pretty fun.
I think maybe on PC it would make more sense, but
Yeah, you can blame me for that if you want, because I don't know why I thought it was going to be a Battlefield experience again.
Well, you know, if you look at any one frame of it, you'd think, well, yeah, it's a Battlefield type experience.
Yeah,
but
it's more like Red Orchestra or something like that.
Yeah, which I like. I like Red Orchestra, but again, that was on PC, wasn't it? And that's yes, exactly. Red Orchestra, like that one hit. Everyone's got a fucking bolt action rifle, and you know your rate of fire is really low, but one hit equals one kill. But yeah, I don't know. It just.
I honestly forgot that even happened until just now.
Well, exactly.
If someone said, "Did you play Enlisted?" I would have gone.
What's that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good question. Sorry for all the moaning, everyone, for complaining about games, but that's the question we were asked. If you want to ask us a question or anything else, give us your opinions, your topics, all that sort of stuff, dearspecialmoves@gmail.com. Jake.
Yes?
I say
MMOs! Oh, right, yeah, I just wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings being killed and Amazon's inability to launch a game continuing. The Bezos curse. Curse of the Pharaoh. I am really invested into Amazon's new world, right? I've told you before. Not financially invested, by the way, may I say. I know me and Bezos haven't been on the phone or anything like that. But I mean, I'm playing it under NDA, so I can't talk about that. But I can tell you that they just announced a new patch, and I, like all the other YouTube creators that read the patch notes, I can say that it seems very interesting that they've added a lot of player versus player focused things that seem to be completely in line with the fan feedback that was brought up in August. So that was very exciting. But I always had this weird feeling playing New World during the public test build that everybody could play, that it was a lot of fun, but you kind of were worried that Amazon are going to just like use this as a beta test for the Amazon MMO, The Lord of the Rings, that they were working on. You know, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't help but think, like, well, that's where the money is, the Tolkien estate, and the IP is big, and they're doing the show, and the more people will be interested in a game where you can play as a, you know, whatever, an elf. I was going to say Nazgul. That's why I throw myself off. Imagine if you could, that'd be sick. But there's only be 9, so guess not. But anyway, the point is, I'm spending time on New World, I'm loving it, right, and this and that. And I'm thinking, like, the whole time, well, is this just going to be real? But no, they've canned it. They've canned the Lord of the Rings MMO. Yeah. They've Amazon have completely done what they do best. They've got a game, they've got an idea, they've got a development team, and then they've gone, ha ha.
Well, it didn't sound like it was their own choice, though.
Well, yeah. So what is it again? It's Tencent.
I think it's the developer they chose to make this Lord of the Rings MMO recently got bought out by Tencent. Tencent being the massive Chinese multi-billion-dollar conglomerate whose biggest rival happens to be Amazon. So, yeah, it seems like Tencent and Amazon couldn't come to an agreement about like budgets and, you know, essentially leasing out this developer. And so, yeah, Amazon was just like, nah, we're just going to cancel it. And that was that.
So, does this mean anything for New World? Who knows? Apart from that, now there's a firm rival. There's a Gary Oak with Frodo's name attached to it. MMOs seem to be like ready for a renaissance. I think you'll see a lot more chatter about this soon. There's loads in the works. Black Desert Online, them lot are making another one. Mm-hmm. There's like Ashes of Creation. There's another one that's coming into a beta test made by the Black Desert people like next month. It's got a really shit name. Ashes of Creation, New World. They're all Black Desert Online, you know, Mortal Online.
Well, I mean, it's such a
expansion.
It's such a boring point, but it's probably something to be said for the fact that more and more people have got, you know, excellent, you know, broadband connectivity and stuff. So if you think what the state of the fucking network would have been when World of Warcraft came out and how people were connecting to each other, you know, technically connecting to each other, compared to how it would be done, this year. That's probably going to make a huge difference, and then server technology and stuff like that, and the scale of how many MMOs now like promise you large scale battles and all that kind of thing, where you can have huge, and we've just mentioned Enlisted. Well, that was meant to be an MMO or something, wasn't it? That was some kind of...
That's what they've been calling it, yeah.
Yeah,
which is unusual.
They keep saying MMO in the marketing, but it's like 32 players in a game max, from what I could tell.
There's obviously some kind of persistent world or something like that, but the scale. What I'm saying is the scale of what they can promise is going to get bigger and better, and the actual experience of connecting to servers and stuff is going to be more kind of seamless, as time goes on, isn't it? So.
Yeah,
it's not. It's almost not surprising that there's now like another wave again of MMOs on the way from people who've thought, oh, you know what, it's probably a good time to make an MMO now because of technology and all that. And
MMOs that stray away from this tried and tested World of Warcraft methodology of having like combat attached to a hotbar with skills that have got time. New World isn't the only game to have this like real-time combat, and like even game now owned by majority stakeholder Tencent have Funcom, who did Age of Conan, which is the last MMO I properly played, and that had like a kind of more of a live combat system. So I'm just putting this here because I think in 6 months' time there'll be a lot more conversations about MMOs. So I wanted to kind of bring that up now for the people.
Do you not think that almost is quite an outdated label, though, isn't it? Because it doesn't. What does it actually? At what point does something stop becoming like just a multiplayer game, like No Man's Sky or Destiny or whatever, and become an MMO? Like,
when we're talking MMO now, we are talking like 1,000 players on the server at once, like that. I guess is it.
And technically speaking, you could like stroll around and bump into 1,000 players.
Exactly.
Without a matchmaking screen
without an instance. Yeah, exactly. And that is it. And the world is designed for 1,000 players at once to be harvesting logs, whatever, innit? Yeah. It's just, don't know. It was news that I saw, and it's kind of interesting that the Lord of the Rings is not a big enough name for Amazon to fight on. I guess.
Yeah. So all we're getting is this game, which is...
I'm sure they'll find another developer. Like if
or don't.
Or don't, yeah. But if like
a game that isn't an MMO, maybe would be cool. Do you know what I mean? Like a battle kind of in Middle Earth.
Yeah, I want to do an MMO. Just put more people on the world.
Like,
it's great, isn't it?
If Amazon put a call out there being like, "Hey, game developers, pitch us your ideas for a Lord of the Rings game," and
Creative Assembly,
flash a bit of cash at them.
Sakes, Creative Assembly. Yeah, do that, please. Total War.
I think they're owned by Sega, though, aren't they?
Make it happen. Get
the fuck. Creative Assembly. My God, yeah. Let's see how Warhammer 3.
How amazing a conversation it would be if Creative Assembly would speak into Amazon about. Listen, we got this thing. It's called Total War.
This concept is this.
We want to do it with Lord of the Rings, please.
Here's my out there idea. Platinum Games. They make a Lord of the Rings light action game.
Legolas.
Yeah. Legolas. He's got nano machines. It'll be great.
The whole thing takes place in Mirkwood.
Yeah. Legolas, except he's got Metal Gear Solid bionic legs.
Yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah, Mithril. Yeah.
Mithril legs.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up in it because the real game I've been playing, I can talk about, is Resident Evil 7, isn't it? But obviously, we just spent ages talking about Resident Evil 8. So it seems.
Should we just put that in the bonus podcast maybe because it's related and but not exactly new, is it? Okay, we'll do the new games in a little bit. Unless Liam, there's anything you want to bring up? Outriders.
Oh yeah, I will very quickly go over it. So after. Not even pressure, really. Sheer boredom drove me to download Outriders on Xbox Game Pass. I don't have a Series X or a Series S, so it was the last-gen version on my Xbox One X. I will say the game looks very good for last-gen. They could have probably knocked the resolution down, though, because the performance is actually pretty atrocious.
Right.
With not even very often, pretty much all the time, sub 30 FPS, very stuttery, menus take a long time to load, longer than they should. There's a lot of load screens in the last gen version. you'll be sitting at. It takes like 2 minutes just to load into the main menu. So that's not great. But I persevered through all of that. Played through the entire game. I finished the campaign. Did a tiny bit of the end game stuff. And it is just okay. That is the best I can say about Outriders. The combat, when it starts opening up, like when you start being able to, you can go down a specific. Each class has sort of like 3 subclasses to them, and you can start putting your skill points into them. So once you get to that point, the combat really starts to open up. And I went as a Devastator, which is like a big tank, and I was going down the Warden route, which made me even more of a tank. So I was basically unkillable by the end of the game. However, the further you get into the game, it falls into that classic problem of these sort of looter-shooter RPGs, where the enemies become so ridiculously spongy that all you're doing is like standing still for 5 minutes, just pumping bullets into a boss as you watch their health bar slowly trickle down. And it just gets very monotonous very quickly. And that is all the game is. There's Outriders it's constant shooting, constant action, things exploding all the time. The only moments of quiet are when you're in your camp or in like a hub city talking to vendors and selling gear, or dismantling gear to upgrade gear. There's no variety to the game. It's just constant shooting from start to finish. There's no puzzles. There's a couple bosses they throw in there every so often, but they just become spongy enemies who you just strafing around them for 5 minutes, running out of ammo, run into the ammo box, restocking, emptying all 800 bullets into him, restocking again, maybe dodging out of the way of its AoE attack every so often. It's a game where the combat and the core gameplay loop to it is actually pretty good. The problem is there's nothing really to do outside of that combat. Yeah. So the resulting game just gets very, very repetitive, like super quick. And the story isn't particularly great. It got to a point where I was just skipping dialogue because I just didn't care what was happening in the story. But yeah, it's just like, it's okay. That is the best I can say about Outriders. Like, I had a pretty bug-free experience, to be fair. I know it's been quite bad for some people. Like, people have lost their inventories. Some people even lost their entire characters, have been deleted.
News, like everything you see about it in the news is about inventory wipes.
Yeah.
Like everything that's happening around the game is about people losing their shit.
There's been some pretty bad bugs, which luckily I managed to avoid. The worst bugs I had was I had a couple crashes where I don't think it was, sort of the game's fault, but it was like, where the poor Xbox One X obviously couldn't handle what was going on the screen, right, and the game would just crash to the dashboard. But yeah, like other than that, relatively bug-free. But yeah, it's just like, it's a game with a lot of promise that just, it doesn't really do anything with that promise. And the developers have said, this is the game, it's done. They might sell an expansion pack down the line, but it's not a live service game like The Division or Destiny. You're not going to be getting like story or content updates every like couple of months. It's literally like the campaign, start to finish, that's it. Maybe an expansion pack. So yeah, it's like,
so something like more like Borderlands. Kind of.
It is more like Borderlands than anything. It's like once you've reached the end of the game, there's not really a lot to do, because the only thing left to do is the expeditions, which is like the post-game content for getting epic and legendary gear. But because you're already at the end of the game, there's nothing to use that gear on apart from more expeditions to get more better gear. But then there's nothing, again, like you end up at a point where there's nothing to use that epic or legendary gear toward. And
I think it's a classic thing of where the pricing is an issue, because I said after we were playing when we were playing Enlisted on the weekend, I'm sure we would probably have had, just as a little co-op group, more fun playing Outriders.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm saying this on a gaming podcast, and I should be playing Outriders, but I'm not going to pay 60 quid for it. It's as simple as that. I played the demo and I don't think it's worth 60 quid. So
exactly. I think I'm more favourable towards it because I played it through Game Pass. If I did put like £60 down on this, I don't think I would have been happy with it.
It would be in that list of games.
It would be it would be in my list of why did I play this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's a game with a lot of promise that just doesn't really get realised by the end. The expedition end game challenges are super, super dull. It is, to me, the main problems of the game, like, ramped up to 11, where it's just, it throws wave after wave of spongy enemies at you. It's all based around DPS. So if you've gone for a support class like I did, as like a tank, it's so boring, because it takes forever to get through these enemies, and then the rewards are based on your completion time. So if you take too long to get through all these spongy enemies, you get worse rewards. So if you play as a DPS player, where you can just smash through everything in seconds, you'll get the best rewards. If you play a support character and you're playing solo, like I did, it'll take you ages to get through it, and you'll just get shit at the end. So it's even not worth it.
That's touching on the other thing that I've seen a lot about this game, apart from inventory wipes, is people saying your enjoyment on the game basically comes down to which class you choose to play.
It really does, yeah.
Some of the classes are obviously more enjoyable than others. But if you've been playing Outriders, please let us know in the comments. Maybe you agree with Liam or disagree completely if you've been playing another class, or send us an email about it.
Mm-hmm. If you play
gmail.com.
Yeah, if you're playing in a group, I can imagine it's a lot of fun. But as a solo player, especially a solo player who picked a support class, it was not that fun at all. And I'll just say, lastly, it is wildly inconsistent as well, just in its presentation. Like, for one example, there's cutscenes where you'll have a full screen cutscene, then the next cutscene, it'll like crop to like a 16, it'll crop from like 16:9 ratio to like a cinematic ratio. And then the next cutscene straight after it won't be 16:9 again. It'll be slightly cropped, but not like cinematic cropped. And this is all within like the same string of cutscenes. It feels like every little bit of the game was made by a different department, and there was no cohesion. And so they've all just done, well, I think this looks best. But then someone else has gone, well, I like it looking like this. And they've just gone, all right, and strung it all together. So it's very inconsistent, like in its presentation. And that even goes into the story, where some parts of the game are like quite light-hearted, very adventurous. Then other parts are like deadly serious, talking about genocide and like losing your loved ones. And then there's other parts of it that play like a rip-off of Lost Planet. But
light genocide.
I think my overall feelings are very, very inconsistent game. That it's probably fun as a co-op game. Definitely not as a solo game, though.
Okay. So that is Outriders. Remember, let us know what you think about it if you're listening or watching. So let's do the new games before we finish then. So it's not a bad week.
All right.
So the 22nd, which is the day of the podcast going out, which is the Thursday. Today we've got MotoGP 21, which is coming out on basically all platforms, including Switch and Stadia and next-gen consoles. Obviously, a motorbike racing game. To be honest, I'm never going to play stuff like this, but I actually I've seen quite a bit of gameplay of it, just on Twitter and stuff like that. It fucking looks good. Like the actual detail. What like every next-gen game, every next-gen racing game, is going to be a bit of a showcase, isn't it? Whenever there's a new console, there's always a Gran Turismo or whatever that shows off the console. This definitely looks pretty fucking cool, I think. So that's on the 22nd. There's an indie game called Smelter, which looks alright on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. It's kind of a action strategy game. It's described as. It looks pretty good. That's Smelter. And then Wonder Boy, Asha in Monster World is out today as well on PC, Switch, and PS4. Do you guys know much about Wonder Boy?
I think it's a remake of a Mega Drive game.
Right.
But I think it's a series from the Sega Mega Drive days, but they've been getting like remade one by one, I think, over the last couple of years.
I've seen them popping up, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's made by the people who did Streets of Rage 4. You know, it's got that same sort of like 2D art style, I think.
That was good. Streets of Rage 4 was good.
Don't know it, but it looks cool. Yeah, it looks decent enough. Graphics are nice and that.
Speaking of Sega as well, so on the Friday now, so this is the 23rd of April, Judgment is out on PS5, Xbox Series X, and Stadia. So this is just the next-gen port, I suppose, is it?
Yeah. Some people aren't happy about it, though, because they changed the way the lighting works and the way characters are, like, their skin shaded and stuff like that, so... There's
been Mass Effect.
It's very similar to what people are saying about Mass Effect. Yeah, like characters that look like they're made out of melted plastic now, and like the lighting looks worse because they've gone for a real-time lighting system, but because times of day look better or worse. Like the nighttime looks really good, but the daytime looks, really like washed out and like flat and bad. So. But Judgment's a good game. Like I played it on PS4 when it came out. I had a good time with it. It's pretty much just Yakuza with some very, very mild detective elements. Like, and I mean very mild. It's pretty much you look around the environment for clues, and then occasionally there's like some Ace Attorney style bits where you shouted at people like, "Ha! But you forgot this bit of evidence." Other than that, it's literally just Yakuza. Like, you run around, have random encounters in the streets, fighting people, you go do a bit of karaoke, you go run a nightclub, and then that's it. But
okay, and then Nier Replicant version 1.224744874139.
Ellipses.
So it goes. Yeah, that is out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One on the same day, so it's the 23rd of April. You've been looking forward to this for a while, haven't you, Liam?
I have, yeah. It's not quite a remake. It's sort of a halfway between remake and remaster of Nier, which came out on the 360 PS3. It's they've updated it to have combat that's more in line with Nier Automata, so it should be a bit more sleek, a bit more modern, a bit more responsive. Visually, they've updated it. The visual stuff actually looks quite nice.
Yeah, it looks right.
I think a lot of people have forgotten, how budget looking the original Nier was, and it definitely was a very budget limited game. So it actually looks like it's had some care and attention put into it. It's based on Replicant, which is the version we didn't get here in the West, because for whatever reason it came out in two versions in Japan. One of them you played as an old man. The other one, you played as a pretty anime boy. So we're getting the pretty anime boy version now. Finally for all all the weebs out there. But yeah, it's like they got the composer back to like recompose some of the tracks. They got some of the voice actors back to do new dialogue or re-record dialogue. And there's been a lot of hints about there's maybe some new stuff in there as well, but good old
You'd expect it, wouldn't you? You would expect it from these guys.
Yoko Taro, he's a cheeky guy, isn't he?
Good old Yoko Taro. He's been teasing everyone a little bit about it, being like, I don't know what you mean, hint, like wink wink, if you can wink through the giant skull mask he wears.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's some new content by the sounds of it. And it's just, it's bringing Nier to modern platforms. So.
A lot of people would have probably started on Nier Automata after hearing the rave reviews. So, it's a new game for a lot of people, right? That's the way I see it.
There's going to be more new players, I think, than there's going to be returning players.
Well, yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's certainly new to me because I played Nier Automata. I didn't even know about Nier, whatever this one is. So
let me tell you about Drakengard.
Yeah.
You have. So let's do the bonus podcast now, lads. So thanks everyone who listened and watched along with that. We have got a bonus podcast for everyone who supports us on Patreon. Remember, we're doing it every single week now. It's just a little bit shorter every week. So rather than doing 1 hour every 2 weeks, we're doing more like half an hour every single week. So we're going to record a bonus podcast. We're going to probably talk about Resident Evil 7. And Liam's going to tell me about, what was it, Drakengard?
I mean, I don't have to, but I can if you want. There's 3 games to go through.
Find out on the bonus podcast.
Let me tell you how ending E of Drakengard is actually how Nier became a thing.
Is that like a Chris Pratt video? Is that
well, we are paywalling it behind Patreon, so might as well fucking be. Right, see you later, everyone else. Bye.